Does this statue of Titus look a bit timid to you?
No, why?
I had thought he was a little bolder. A little bolder. Statues abound pretty much across the globe. From Easter Island to the Olmecs, Egypt to China to Washington, D.C., humans like turning rocks into other humans.
Here are 5 things to consider when looking at Greek and Roman sculptures.
First, remember that it would have been painted. Really, Greeks and Romans were not fans of white marble. That idea came later when Renaissance artists in the 1400s looked at ancient rainwash statues of the past. They thought the bleached aesthetic was intentional and copied the style. Modern art historians have been working on restoring colorized copies back to their original glory through the use of ultraviolet light. This statue of Augustus, austere and monochromatic, actually looked far more colorful. The color may look gaudy to our eyes, but the bright pigments had great value in ancient times. Side note, this also applied to architecture.
Number 2. Many statues are a form of propaganda. A sculpture's history can give a clue why it looks a certain way. Is it from France, Germany, or any of those other barbaric outerlands? Then the statue was intended to look fierce, scaring villagers who lived far from the emperor into submission. This is the man who conquered you. Stare into the cold, dead eyes and feel intimidated. Emperors wanted to be terrifying warriors abroad, fatherly and protective within their cities, but also devout patrons of the pantheon to appease the gods. Many sculptors were charged with making an idealized portrait with a message rather than an accurate one.
Number 3. Noses and eyes would really help you identify who you're looking at. Unfortunately, you don't get many to work with because they break off so easily. You will see many unidentified busts in museums, because even art historians have trouble figuring out who the noseless, worn-down chunk of rock is supposed to resemble. And if they are gods or goddesses, you better hope they have one of their symbols nearby, or else you might have trouble figuring out which generic, naked, idealized person the sculptor was carving. Is the fist held high or the hand oddly cupped? The figures were probably holding swords, wooden bowls, draped fabric, or other items lost to time. Also, look for weird empty holes in the statue's eyes. They were usually inlaid with ivory or semi-precious stones that popped out or got looted.
Number 4. Romans liked having statues of themselves, but they loved having copies of Greek statues even more. Sculptors created highly realistic busts of wealthy patrons and rulers, but there wasn't any market in Rome for new ideas. Sculpting was a trade, not an art, churning out copies of the greatest hits from Greek mythology, more like a modern-day cover band than a form of creative expression.
And number 5. We do not have many full-size bronze sculptures, but that doesn't mean there weren't any. Bronze was an extremely valuable material, and even the strongest empires only last so long. In times of war or economic recession, that giant bronze statue of the previous leader might get melted down to make swords, armor, currency, or maybe a bigger statue of the next guy. The bronze statues we do have were almost all lost at the bottom of the sea, and then rediscovered in the past century by marine archaeologists.
So do you mean that all of the statues weren't of stone?
Yeah.
I guess I was taking it for granted. Thanks for watching and keep looking up.